Welcome to the Art of Healing podcast, the podcast that is dedicated to helping you connect with your mind, body, and spirit. This is Charlize, physician and Reiki master, and thank you so much for joining me. I would like to remind you that although I'm a physician, the information you receive in this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. You can find my full disclaimer at my website, www.healingartshealthandwellness.com. If you like what you hear on this podcast, sign up for my weekly newsletter. Check your show notes for more information and for the link to sign up. Thank you. Hey, Art of Healing podcast listeners. Welcome to the latest episode of the Art of Healing podcast. This is Charlize, or Dr. Charlize, and for today's episode, we are going to have a very fantastic guest on that I'm excited to introduce, and he and I will be collaborating. I'll be part of his team of doctors who are going to be doing something really cool. Let me introduce you to Andy James. Andy is a certified nutritional therapy practitioner. He's been certified by the Nutritional Therapy Association. Andy's story, which he'll share with us, starts with his strong urge to help as many people as he can after the passing of his father in 2011. Andy himself has undergone a transformation of losing 40 pounds and has done much research on how to lose weight and do it in a way that's going to work, in a way that's safe, in a way that you can live with. So Andy is going to be coming on. I asked him to introduce himself as well as to discuss this upcoming program. And we'll be rolling this out in time that if you're interested, maybe you can sign up. All right, let's get started. Hey, Andy, thank you so much for being a guest on my podcast. It's so great to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. My very first podcast.
Excellent.
Be invited on.
Well, listeners, let's give Andy a silent and distant thank you for joining us for his first podcast appearance. So, Andy, to get started, can you tell us listeners a little bit about yourself? Tell us about your background and why you created your program, SlimLogix, that we're going to be telling the listeners about.
Yeah, sure. So I've got a background in finance and real estate. And so really completely unrelated to the health and wellness field. So it really wasn't until about 2011 where I lost my dad. And I kind of really looked at his kind of getting this rare cancer and his kind of slow progression. And I kind of believe that it was due to diet and lifestyle. My dad never drank, didn't smoke, but he was definitely a fast food aficionado. And so I think a lot of, I just tried to connect the dots of why at 58 years old, was stricken with this cancer and passed so early on in life. So it kind of was really an eye-opener for me. Enabled me to look at my own life and see if there's any changes I could make as a result. So back in 2011, I was overweight, just really had debilitating anxiety and really, kind of just severe on and off bouts of depression. So I just wasn't really in the best place at that time. So I just started to look for ways in which I could better my health. Led me to start reading some books, watching documentaries. So, 50 plus documentaries and, 25 odd books later, have this vast bit of knowledge, I feel. And it's my hope to share all this knowledge, with other people. And, through that process, I was able to, myself, get out of the depressive funk that I was in. Really significantly reduced my anxiety, and along the way, lo and behold, lost some weight. So I lost about 40 pounds, from my peak, was about 190, 195-ish, so down to 155-ish, and able to effectively keep it off for all that time. So again, this is my hope to take all this great knowledge and turn something real negative, my father passing, into something positive where I can share it to others.
I think that's an epic mission. That is an epic mission. That's to take such a painful loss and make meaning out of it and make something that's going to help others. So why don't you share with the listeners this program that you're launching? It's SlimLogix.
Yeah, sure.
So tell us, what is this?
Yeah, so SlimLogix at its core is 100% online. This is a medically supervised weight loss program. It's 12 weeks in duration. And in addition to the educational component, we also encourage our members to wear what's known as CGM. So they're called continuous glucose monitors. So I'm actually wearing one myself. We can get into that a little bit later about what this technology is and what the benefits are. But just the 30,000 foot view of SlimLogix is education paired with this wearable technology.
So, for the listeners, the reason why I'm so excited is because I'm just really fortunate because I get to work with Andy and his team, and I get to be one of the physicians that's going to be assisting in what I feel is just an epic undertaking. So, the structured program that's going to involve monitoring the blood sugars along with working with Andy and his team. And for how long does the program last for?
So it's 12 weeks.
Okay.
And ideally, folks sign up a little bit before that class, that first class, so they can work with the functional medicine doctor to have that initial consultation, do a blood draw. We send them out a welcome kit that just kind of prepares them. So the first day of class, so to speak, they're ready to go for that 12 weeks.
Nice. So does the program require a special diet, supplements, meal replacements? Is it anything like that?
No, it really isn't. Again, SlimLogix at its core is education. So there's no pills, powders, shakes. There's no celebrity endorsements. There's no injections that are required. It just really is the education is centered around, the foundation of it is eating, whole nutrient dense foods, helping to thereby optimize your blood sugar and leading to long-term sustainable weight management.
Yes. And you've said the term to me several times, eat real food. You are a nutritional therapy practitioner. Can you just describe to us what that is for a little bit?
Yeah, right. So I mentioned before, I, just kind of went down that proverbial rabbit hole of just watching documentaries myself, reading books. I wanted to formalize that education and was able to find the Nutritional Therapy Association. They're based over in Washington. They've been around since the 90s, and they produce folks like myself, nutritional therapy practitioners, armed with a great bit of knowledge and able to help clients at a high level. And so, yeah, I think it's a great school and great teachings.
Mm-hmm. So if I gather from what you're saying, Andy, with this program, it's one part medical, working with a functional medicine doctor, and the continuous glucose monitoring, which we'll discuss. And then the biggest part of this is the participants, the students, are going to learn how to eat. This is getting into their lifestyle and helping them learn what to do in their life as far as nutrition. And many other things too. Does that sound correct?
It does, yeah. And really, the first part of our program is talking about eating real food. So we help define that. What is real food? We get, just bombarded with advertisements. It's very confusing sometimes going down grocery store aisles. A lot of the packaged, ultra-processed foods. So the teachings are about getting back to really how maybe our grandparents or even great-grandparents used to eat.
Listeners, I'm laughing a little bit inwardly because my first meeting with Andy, I was eating lunch, just the way my life. And so he was telling me about the program, and then I looked down at my lunch. I was like, oh, thank goodness this is a real food lunch. So, and I had like a half an avocado and a salad. And I was like, oh goodness. Okay. If in case he sees this, I'm eating real food, even though I'm eating in his face. Andy, why don't you share with us when you're talking real food, you're saying like nutrient dense foods. Can you describe to us what it is that you mean?
Right. So I guess maybe in its simplest form, as we go to a grocery store, if a food has a barcode on it or actually has a nutrition label on it, it's most likely this is a food that has been highly processed. It's been manufactured by one of the larger food conglomerates. It likely might have ingredients that we just don't know what the heck it is. So again, this is about getting back to how we used to eat. When we went to a butcher, we went to a farmer's market, and even at our modern grocery stores, we can still go to the butcher counter. We can still go to the produce section, because when we buy broccoli, lo and behold, there isn't a nutrition label on broccoli. Or if we get some meat at the butcher counter, they might have a barcode for easy checkout, but again, there's really no nutrition label. So it's we've probably heard in the past to shop the perimeters of the grocery store. So this is really kind of the basis of the food teachings.
If you don't mind me asking, Andy, just out of curiosity, do you have any ideas as to, how did we get here? Why has it become accepted for so many of us that the staples of our diet are processed? Do you just have any insights as to like how we got there?
I mean, my personal thought would be strictly out of convenience, right? I think a lot of the TV dinners, started to come around in maybe the 50s and 60s, when all of a sudden there were two working members in the household where meals needed to be created with the time in consideration. So a lot of the food companies were producing the TV dinners that were highly processed, a lot of chemicals added to it, a lot of preservatives added to the foods for longer shelf life. So I think it was largely born out of convenience, and hopefully through the SlimLogix teachings, we can help people realize that they can eat great food, and it doesn't take a whole lot of time.
So you mentioned with your program that it's part education, especially learning how to eat real food. And then you also mentioned this part about the medical supervision. Do you mind describing to the listeners what does that look like and what kind of support that they'll be provided for the students?
Yeah, so I believe it's important for my philosophy of SlimLogix. I love the teachings, and I think they can stand on their own. But I do want to have that medical supervision component should somebody come into the program and they might have some underlying challenge that they need to deal with. There could be a challenge with their thyroid. They could have a hormonal issue, just extraneous things that might need to be dealt with to set themselves up for the greatest chance of success through the program. So the idea is for them to have medical supervision, specifically with a functional medicine doctor, that really kind of aligns the SlimLogix philosophy with that physician. And I also love the fact that it's a concierge style physician where somebody through the program has access to that physician via email should any questions arise. And undoubtedly people will have medical questions that I want them to get answered through the program.
When I first learned about the program, it really piqued my interest that you had thought so much about your participants that you wanted to have this medical supervision. So I was just all on board. One example I could think of is for someone who's wanting to undertake a major lifestyle change, like someone who's diabetic. You really do need that support, because as you start to live better, as you start to love your body and you start to eat real food, your body's going to respond really quickly. A lot of our diabetics are on powerful medications, and you need to be ready for like,
No
what are we going to
question.
do? Yeah. Yeah. So that's one of the, when Andy first told me about the program, I found just very exciting. So how is this program, SlimLogix, different from other weight loss programs that are out there?
Right. So there are many, right? I mean, there are many diets out there. There are many diet companies. I think the biggest difference in our program is there is an end. There is an end to the program. After the 12 weeks, if we have done our job correctly, that individual can now go out into the world, effectively navigate this confusing food landscape, confusing weight loss landscape, and they can have that knowledge to effectively make the changes and continue their weight loss journey whenever they want to. So we're not in the business of selling items on a recurring basis. We're in the business of educating that number. And after that 12 weeks, should they need additional support from SlimLogix, of course we're there. We have additional consulting packages after the fact. Absolutely. We don't want to leave anybody kind of hanging, so to speak. So that's the thought there.
You're trying to put yourself out of a job.
Well, again, I kind of look at it as like, just taking an online class, or, if you get your undergraduate, eventually at some point you graduate and you take that knowledge that you gain through your college, university, and you go out into the world and create something for yourself. And I look at this as kind of a miniature version of that.
In modern healthcare, for for you listeners, because we are in the United States, because we've got listeners all over the world. A lot of our healthcare models in the United States are chronic care models. So that is a bit of a difference, honestly enough, that at some point I probably should do a podcast to separate how that's different from root cause medicine, something like functional medicine, where you're actually, after getting to the root, to eliminate or mitigate the disease rather than just manage the disease. It's a very different approach. Yes, very different approach. What are some of the fad diet traps that people can fall for? And I mean, I can think of some, but there've been so many, and I think there's even more coming out with social media. But from Andy, from your perspective, what are some of these kind of fads that are out there?
Yeah, I think the biggest, there are many fads. I mean, the weight loss industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And in my opinion, I believe it is largely built upon confusion. So sadly, for the average person, they're just not really quite sure of how exactly it is to lose weight and keep it off sustainably, for the long term. I think there's so many different terms out there. There's so many books that are written about it. There's a lot of like marketing labels. It's Atkins, it's South Beach, it's Mediterranean. I've been in so many social circles where people always say, "Hey, what diet are you on? What diet are you doing?" And it just, people get caught up in that, and I think they kind of just put these diets into just different boxes, and it really, again, is not really getting to the whole root of how to lose weight. It just is helpful in selling products. It's helpful in selling books. For example, I was just, ketogenic diets are pretty popular, keto. I was just in the grocery store not too long ago, and of course, SlimFast has a keto bar, and they also have an intermittent fasting bar. So the food companies they're not dumb. I mean, they know how to market to the masses, so they're just taking these labels and marketing products. And sure enough, I mean, if you want to do research, you flip the package over and you see, 50 different ingredients in a bar. So, I think that's a huge pitfall that people fall into with these fad diets and different trends that are out there.
So the SlimLogix programs is using CGMs, which are continuous glucose monitors. Can you tell us some about what a continuous glucose monitor is and how this helps out as a weight loss tool?
Yeah, these I think are very pivotal pieces of technology. Again, I'm wearing one right now, so your listeners and viewers can see. It's about the size of a quarter. It doesn't really stick out too much. You can wear like little patches, like I've got a patch right here. So if you swim or pretty active, you can just put that patch over it. But the premise of this technology is every minute it's giving you an estimation of what your blood sugar is. So this technology, it's not brand new. It's been around for over 20 years, and these were designed specifically for diabetics, right? Because diabetics typically have to do what they call finger stick and test their blood through glucose meters. Can be very cumbersome. So this technology was developed, and it's probably pretty life-saving, especially if folks are type 1 diabetic or have children that are type 1 diabetic, because you can set alerts. For example, this technology, it speaks to your phone. So right now I'm at a 101 blood sugar.
Good job.
So yeah, so it's giving you a window into your own body with reference to blood sugar. So it's a fantastic learning tool when people wear these and they go out in life and they have certain foods and or beverages, and to see what those foods do to their blood sugar virtually in real time.
Nice.
Because the goal of SlimLogix is to first eat real food, thereby optimize your blood sugar, force your body into a state of ketosis and achieve the weight loss. So that optimized blood sugar piece is done with this CGM technology.
So, Andy, we all have heard a lot of talk about the prescription medications that can help with weight loss. We know that there are a few brands that are very, very popular currently. And then, of course, there's been several medications that have been around for years with the indication of weight loss. So we use off-label for weight loss. So these would be the drugs like semaglutide, Wegovy. What are your thoughts about these medications?
Boy, I'm not a big fan. I feel like it's a Band-Aid. I feel like we're not really getting to the root cause. We're not really helping people lose weight the right way and keep weight off the right way. A lot of these new drugs that are out there, from what I understand, and the physicians I've spoken with, these need to be taken continuously.
They have to be taken continuously.
To the tune of, $900, $1,000 a month. That can be a pretty hefty bill for folks to pay. And it seems to be effective, but I don't think we're really sure of what kind of long-term effects they have. I don't know I'm not sure how to get tapered off of these, because if you're at some point want to not take that drug, what does that look like? So I just think it's really new. And these types of drugs in the weight loss industry, it's nothing new. For years, there's been other drugs. Fen-Phen in the 90s was something of a huge craze. Yes. In fact, one of my aunts, she got on Fen-Phen, and for your listeners that don't know about Fen-Phen, it just later recalled and ended up, harming people's hearts, including my aunts. And these drug companies, ended up spending billions of dollars in lawsuits and the legal fallout from it. So it's nothing new under the sun. This is just another craze. I would, really, really strongly encourage people to do their research and really talk with their doctor to see if it's something that works for them. But, with reference to SlimLogix, it's maybe the polar opposite. Again, we're really...
Whenever we have a treatment, we want to think about the risk and the benefit. With every treatment, the risk and the benefit. So kind of the way I'm thinking it is with the SlimLogix program, what would be the risk? What would, be the risk of being in this program versus the risk of a prescription, which, if you're a listener, and even if you've discussed with your doctor, we have to disclose that these medications have a risk of certain types of cancer. If you have a family history of thyroid cancer, you actually have to really review, is this going to be a safe drug to take? The way these medications work, they have a risk of pancreatitis, which is inflammation of the pancreas. So risk versus benefit. And so when we get into the medication realm, and this is a discussion I have with patients, that we have to really got to decide, is this risk worth undertaking versus the risk of a lifestyle modification program? The risks that we're running here, really not as high. You risk I guess your investment, if you want to see it the way, but you risk time.
Yes.
I guess if you want to see
Hmm.
it that way, maybe risk like emotions, but we're not risking organs. So,
Right, exactly. And I mean, again, SlimLogix is it's not a quick fix. It's not for folks that want to make that investment and then 3 months later just go back to what they were doing.
mhm,
So it's challenging. I do like that these drugs are out there because it's bringing attention to weight loss and the industry. Again, so hopefully people can make the sound decision as to whether or not to take those.
So the SlimLogix program is going to be operating virtually. So Andy, can you share with us what are the benefits of being part of this program virtually, and maybe even tell us some about the structure, because you're building a community. It's going to be peer support. So tell us about some of the benefits with that.
Yeah, I think the number one benefit is convenience. I think over the past few years, there's a host of people that are okay doing meetings just like this via, this great digital technology that we have, even doing medical consultations via the video conferencing. So, it really is that convenience. So people can be at home, people can be at the office and participate in SlimLogix, have a medical consultation, and have it work for their schedule. So the format of SlimLogix, again, it's a 12-week program. Once a week, there is a half-hour group session where we cover one of the educational components, just a bite-size amount. We keep it real fun, real light, real conversational. Class size is no more than 12 people. So we just encourage people to share successes, share challenges, ask questions, and just kind of create a fun group format for that weekly session. And then in addition, members are also getting an individual session. They'll consult with the nutritional consultant, myself, for a half hour's time. Again, all done virtually.
So Andy, for the listeners, as they're hearing about your program, is this open for enrollment? Is this open for individuals? Can you give us some of the logistics about if someone's interested, how they can learn more, if they can sign up?
Yeah, for sure. We just launched, so this podcast is perfect timing. Our website is SlimLogix System, so it's Logix, Logix, SlimLogixSystem.com. They can go there, check out all the details, pricing. But yeah, right now we're actually enrolling for the August session. It's set to start Tuesday, August 1st. So
Nice.
feel free to apply on there. And after the application is received, we would do a 15-minute consultation just to make sure that we have all the questions answered, any challenges that they might have with the enrollment, and we take it from there.
Nice. And if you don't mind me disclosing, I'm going to be part of Andy's team. So I'm so
Yes.
excited. I'll get to be one of his functional medicine practitioners. When Andy first told me about his program, I thought it was just really forward thinking. Just, wow, this is the way to go. Structure, community support, and then
Mm-hmm.
making a kind of a bilateral team, part medical, part nutrition. So I know you'll have a team of doctors that you're assembling, a team of providers, but I want to let the listeners know
Yes.
that I'll be one of them. So if they're
You're one of
interested,
them. Yes,
yes,
you
I
bet.
am. So, Andy, is there anything else you'd like to share about yourself, share with the listeners, any other way that they could learn more about you, follow you, as well as your company?
Yeah, I've got a little bio on there. And again, I do not come from a medical or health nutrition background. This is just something born out of passion, born from changing my own life, my wife's, a couple of close friends and family around me. I love talking about this stuff, very passionate about it. So it's time that I give back
Nice.
and try to help as many people as I can.
Well, Andy, thank you so much for joining me for this episode of the Art of Healing podcast. I think the listeners can really take something interesting away, if nothing else, how to address their lives right now. For the listeners, on any platform that you're listening on, you'll see the show notes, and you're going to see the links there to find out more about Andy, to find out more about the SlimLogix program. So just make sure to check your show notes. Also, if you did miss this, in your show notes, you'll see be a link where you could sign up for my weekly newsletter, and I will be including all the details there. So you don't need to write it down, because I know you listeners like to be doing other things like walking, working out, driving. So just take your show notes for all the details. Andy, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for joining us during this episode. If you have enjoyed listening, I definitely would love if you leave me a review on the podcast platform that you're listening to. If you like what you heard, you can sign up for my weekly newsletter, and I will email you a copy that you can download. You might also discover that I have a extensive library of podcasts, some that you might want to go through and listen to. So please feel free to sign up. And we'll be back next week. Thanks, listeners. Talk soon. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of the Art of Healing podcast. Once again, this is Charlize. You can find out more about me at www.healingartshealthandwellness.com. Did you know I have a blog as well as online courses? Check your show notes to sign up for more information about healing arts, health, and wellness. Thank you. Please feel free to share this episode with your friends, family, and loved ones.